Hello and welcome everyone to this week's show. This is Green Pass Gaming's Sunday podcast. Welcome everyone to the show. Really excited for today's show. It's been a relatively quiet news week, but we've managed to drag up some topics that have been kicking around this week. And I can hear some music in the background. I think that's you, Steel Rain. So welcome to the show. Yeah, we've got some hot topics tonight. Topic one, we are looking at Halo's seasons and the fact that they're going to be permanent and you can jump in them at any point and they don't actually time out. So we're going to look at that. We're also going to look at see if it's actually time to jump back into Cyberpunk and get back into Night City. And also Battlefield 2042's got bots filling its servers on the multiplayer side of things. And while we're on that topic, I think we're going to talk about Sony and PlayStation's cross-platform strategy. But before we get on to any of that good stuff, let's introduce our fantastic panel for this evening. So pleased to have everyone with us. And first up, as always, Puxley, how the devil are you, my friend? What have you been up to?
Evening panel and evening chat. Yes, I'm doing very well, thank you. Not been a busy gaming week for me, unfortunately, mainly because of work commitments and final kind of wedding prep for that happening in about 2 weeks' time. So that's all kind of been on my plate at the moment. Although I did take part in the Indie Gamer podcast on Friday evening. That was good fun. But aside from that, unfortunately, not too much gaming, but really looking forward to diving into these topics this evening.
Yeah, excellent. So, like I say, we've got two guests with us tonight. But before we get to the guests, we have Luke Steele. Last week we had Scott and no Luke, but this week we've got Luke and no Scott. Luke, you've only just made it back to Jersey today, I believe, from the UK. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, I've been on holiday in the UK for the last week, so I came back today. So my gaming this week has been literally nothing. I've not played anything.
Wow,
and I
that's unusual for you.
Yeah, I was quite annoyed because for some reason I kind of debated whether to bring my Switch or an iPad, and I ended up going with an iPad Pro, but I very stupidly did not take a controller. Otherwise I would have been playing, various bits and pieces, and also the controller would have been helpful because I probably would have played some xCloud, which is a change for me.
Oh, wow. That'd have been a good chance to try that out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but no, I was very stupid and didn't do that. So so I've just been kind of following gaming news, etc. But I'm happy to be back. Especially on here with a great panel to talk some games, and then happy also to actually play something.
Excellent. It's great to have you back, my friend. And let's move on to the first of our two guests, Steel Rain. I'm going to go in order on the screen. Steel Rain, bringing the pain. Welcome, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. You always bring the energy. Love the energy you bring. Excited to have you back on, my friend, and dig into these topics. How have you been?
Look, I got to first say much love to the Green Pass Gaming Kingdom for welcoming the Rain back into their world. Look, man, it is I am him, the one and only Steel Rain, and I'm ready to bring that pain, like you said, Flap. Look, man, I've been able to get into a little bit of gaming this week. I've been heavy into Guilty Gear Strive. I've also started playing some Scarlet Nexus. But the main, attraction would probably be I'm starting to play a little bit more of that Halo 5 just because I was really getting into my feels. So I'm kind of in multiple different places, but I'm really enjoying Scarlet Nexus so far. But yeah, man, we got some awesome topics tonight. Ready to get into it. Ready to dive deep, as we tend to do. And other than that, let's go.
You're getting yourself prepped for Halo Infinite already, my friend. You're a few months out, but it's coming. It's coming. And we're going to be diving into it tonight. So I'm looking forward to diving into this specific part of the information that 343 gave us. So it's going to be pretty cool. Sure. And last, but certainly by no means least, second time on the show, just about, K-Mega. Welcome to the show, my friend. Great to have you from the beginning. Apologies for last week, but let's smash it out the park this week.
Oh, no doubt, man. Glad to be here. Like you said, I mean, last week it was just a time situation, but yeah, I'm here on time, ready to get it. And as my boy Rain would say, I'm happy to be in the Green Pass Kingdom. And so, ready to go ahead and do this and have a good time, man. As for me, the games that I've been playing, Been playing some Scarlet Nexus. Really enjoy that game for sure. But the game that's kind of been keeping me away from it has been Dark Alliance. I've been on that Dark Alliance really heavy, and then last night, my boy Don, One Bad Mother, and Aldridge, and a couple other people, Lou, and a couple of people. We came in. We was playing some Halo 5 last night. So yeah, I feel it. We get that itch. We was trying to get there to try to get that 152. I'm not going to get there before Infinite gets there and before Infinite drops. But and the person that's closest to it is One Bad Mother, which is at 149. It's just too much of a grind. It's too much of a grind. It just takes too long. But yeah, we was having some good time. We was having some good matches. Just with Halo, it gives you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I had some rounds where I felt good, was on top, and then I had some rounds where I was getting my tail kicked, and that was at the bottom. But
yeah,
I love it.
We know all about that. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. No, cool. Well, fantastic. I'm pleased you guys have been playing Halo. And looks like a few people in the chat have as well, because, like I say, first topic tonight is on Halo. But while we're on the chat, guys, thank you so much for being here. We've got 18 people watching already. We're only 6 minutes in. That's kind of a record for us, I think, to a certain degree, but that's fantastic. I think Halo is getting people excited, and now is the time to start getting excited for Halo. As this information starts coming out, and we're going to start learning more and more about it. And I'm actually quite excited about what I've actually been hearing about Halo. Right. So, yeah, let's just do a quick roll call. Very, very quick. What have we got? Anime Reza, Tuku Nagula, Bullman Gaming, Maseko, Super Cosmic Puma. Oh, my God, so many people. Let's have a go through. We got Jadzilla Music and Jimmy. I can't remember your surname. What's your surname? Jimmy Begley. Thank you all, guys, for being here. Fantastic. Well, without further ado, let's get straight onto this, and I will probably come straight to UK Mega if that's okay. I'm going to do a bit of spiel, and then I'll ask you a question. So, this week, 343 Industries have started, like I say, leaking out a little bit more information on the upcoming Halo Infinite. And there was some information that came about the seasons that's obviously going to be in Halo. It's obviously a free-to-play game, so that kind of puts a slightly different spin on it. And, I guess it's fair to kind of compare it to things like Fortnite at this point, with its sort of business model in the terms that it's free-to-play and seasons and stuff. But they actually mentioned that they're going to update roughly a new season one every 3 months. And in that season, there's going to be gameplay content, new events, skins, weapons, all kinds of stuff. Looks like there's also going to be 2 tiers of Battle Pass during the current season. So there's going to be a free Battle Pass, I guess you'd call it, for that particular season, where I think you will probably have a bit more of a grind. There's also a paid version, which I think will probably give you some premium content and some faster XP boosts and stuff. But one of the big things is that actually 343 said that previous seasons, once they've gone, you're still going to be able to go back into that season and complete that season. It will need a Battle Pass payment at that point. But it's quite unique. I don't know of any other games that are quite doing that at the moment. I know obviously Call of Duty is kind of, you pay for your Battle Pass for that season, and once it's timed out, that's pretty much it. You're not going to get those, those assets, those guns, those skins again. So it looks like Halo are doing something slightly different. So do you think, K-Mega, do you think this is kind of a good thing for Halo? And do you think it will entice in a few more players? Or do you just think it's going to be a benefit for those players that are going to be playing anyway?
No, I think that this is the best way to go about it. When I first heard that they were going to take away the rec packs from Halo 5, I kind of was perplexed a little bit, but now knowing that they're going to go with the seasons, the free-to-play aspect of it is genius, because that is what keeps people coming back. And the one thing that's different between Halo and, let's say, for instance, Call of Duty, is that Call of Duty comes every year. It's annually. So they want to get people to invest and spend the most money right then and there. So they might rotate, or for the most part, bring back one of the more popular seasons, but they just kind of want to keep it rolling, because they know that there's another Call of Duty going to be coming out again that following year. Halo is in a different space, because Halo, when we kind of look at it, it's going to be 6 years since we had the last Halo, which was Halo 5. So they can play around. They have more options. And I just feel that is going to be something that a lot more, I think maybe if Battlefield, for instance, 2024 comes out and does a battle pass, I think that they'll kind of implement that, because that's another multiplayer game that will that doesn't come annually. It basically takes 2 or 3 years before they rotate again. So yeah, but Halo is going to be in a really good position. I think that's going to, like I said, gravitate a lot more people. The free to play for sure, add it to PC. That's a definite plus. But yeah, that's just going to keep people keep playing. And instead of going through the grind of what you had to go through in Halo 5, this is a good look. And I'm definitely going to be all about it. So yeah, I think this. A lot of other companies are going to be looking at this and saying, "Oh, okay, you know what? How about we rotate, do this?" I mean, it just doesn't leave certain gamers who may want to come in late to play Halo because they might have other games that they're playing in between before time, or if people just want to play Halo on their Series X, or just there's whole other options that benefits for the seasons to just still be there, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing for them.
Well, it does make sense, doesn't it? Because you've paid for that content, and
Right.
the strange thing is that when you pay for a battle pass, all you're really paying for is the opportunity to grind out those extra assets. And like you say, once the season's over on most of these kind of games, that door's closed, and you're not going to get that again. Yeah, Steel Rain. Made a good point. Do you think other game companies might look at this and think, yeah, that's kind of a good idea. That's kind of a bit more consumer friendly than what we do, or do you think they're going to be quite robust in in sticking with their current business model?
See, for me, it's going to be really dependent on what we as the gamers are going to decide to end up doing. If you can easily fall into that Call of Duty mantra, paying $10 for your season pass, or even grinding out your season pass, and kind of treating it like a job to get all those assets that you could get through that season pass. And it's kind of hard to wean those players off of that system because they've been doing it for a while now. We're going almost 3-4 years of what Warzone's been out for how long? Almost 3 years now.
About 3 years, yeah.
And so this standard's kind of already been set. But seeing what 343 is doing with this Halo Battle Pass kind of system, I'm already seeing kind of the talk on the streets, as you would say, that people are like, hey, well, why don't we implement this system into our other games? You know what I mean? I know there were some Apex players that I've seen asking about it. There were Call of Duty players that were asking about it. Again, it's kind of one of those things to where it just makes sense, right? You want your players to feel like they're getting the most out of the game. If you're going to treat like this DLC content, that's essentially what these battle packs are, or whatever the case, these passes are, right? They're just essentially like little DLC packs. And instead of them just giving you all the content up front, they want you to play the game or spend more money to unlock everything. So that's kind of how they keep you enticed into the service. Whereas what they're doing differently with Halo, kind of like what we talked about, is they're allowing you to keep it. So it's like you can come in at any point in time and say, hey, well, I like the armor that was in 3 seasons ago. Let me start there. And then if it's like these other systems that are set up where they give you coins or whatever the case, to where you basically pay that 10, maybe 15 that first time, and then after that you're paid for. As long as you're completing the pass, it's completely paid for. If you're not spending your coins or whatever, your currency on other cosmetic stuff, right? I feel like it's a huge boon and it's a huge benefit for Halo going free to play. I know a lot of people continuously say, hey, well, Halo's is in a different world now. There's these other monsters out here. And it's kind of like, well, you must have forgot that Halo is Godzilla. He is the king of the monsters.
Yeah.
So there can be all the competition and all the monsters and all these beasts that come out of nowhere. And for them to implement this kind of a system already puts them a leg up and makes people look at these other free-to-play games like your Warzone, your Apex, your Fortnite, make you look at them differently because you have to grind those out. Again, it's kind of like we're trying to respect the time for the gamers, right? That's one of our most valuable resources is our time. And when you make me feel like I'm forced to play a season pass, I'm either halfway through or maybe even a quarter of the way through, depending on how I'm feeling about the game. Because you always know these updates come out and the game might change. You might get turned off. You might not have a want to get through this that pass anymore, and you put the game down. And then you kind of walk off thinking like, man, am I wasting money or like what? And then you kind of feeling like you're forced to play. Where in this Halo situation is coming across like, okay, well, we really value your time. We want you to be able to get everything that we ever put out. And like King Mega said, Halo. The last time we got in a Halo was 6 years ago. You know what I mean? So they're working on that longevity play. You know, they were saying that this Halo is supposed to be a 10-year plan. That's what they got in mind right now. And this is a good step in that direction. So I think it's an excellent thing to do. Again, it's turning people's heads. It's just like with some of the other things that we got going on, like Game Pass or anything else. It's starting to make gamers look at things a little differently. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it does follow in the sort of Xbox mantra at the moment where everything is kind of consumer friendly. And they've done a very good job at kind of blurring the lines as well, haven't they? Because obviously it's still technically a paid for sort of battle pass. It is a free to play game, so they are going to have to monetize it somehow. And perhaps we'll come on to how they're going to do that a little bit later and stuff. Right. And I know it's got a lot of financial heft behind it because obviously Microsoft. But yeah, it is interesting to see that they're starting to blur those sort of lines. Luke, do you buy into battle passes, Luke? Are you sort of Warzone battle pass, Call of Duty battle pass, anything like that? Is that a thing you do?
No, it's not a thing I do. I'm not against battle passes by any stretch. It's just that I don't play. In fact, I don't really play any games that have a battle pass system. So I've never really picked one up. I do prefer them in a lot of ways to cosmetic loot boxes or stuff like that. I think they're a much fairer. Less RNG way to get kind of the cosmetic content you want. So I think that's a plus already. And in fact, loot boxes are pretty much being phased out of most games now, and most are adopting the battle pass system. So I mean, in terms of Halo, you know, I'm glad that it's doing that. It was inevitable. It was going to adopt some form of monetization. It is going free to play, or at least the multiplayer component is. So that's not
just out of interest. I mean, you are a Halo player. We did the Halo tournament. We made it all the way through to the final. Is this the first battle pass that will entice you in, and then you will consider spending money on?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's Halo.
Oh, okay.
And I plan to put a lot of time into Infinite, probably across PC and Series X actually. So it kind of makes sense for me to do that. And certainly the very early cosmetic stuff that they've shown looks really cool. You know, it looks really, really interesting. And I like the idea that they're going for seasons. So they kind of have these unique themes as well that come across. And I think the biggest thing, and as people have alluded to already, is and it's kind of strange, really, that it's not been done much, if ever, before.
Right.
Which is where you can go back and you can purchase certain battle passes that have from seasons past, which is a really good idea for one, and also it's extremely respectful, I think, as Steel Rain said, of people's time, because I think with a lot of service games the idea is to not only tie you into battle pass but to put that behind these kind of artificial gates so that you're always engaged in that game, and you're not dropping the game for something else. And I think it shows probably the confidence that they have in the multiplayer, that they can say, well, no, whenever you want to try and grind these out, they'll always be there for you. Because I think, I've got friends and stuff that, talked to me before about other games where, they're frustrated that there's a cosmetic item that came out, 10 months ago. It's just not available anymore because it was in, a different battle pass or something like that. So I think that's really great. So I think, as I say, it was inevitable that there was going to adopt some form of monetization. We'll see what else it does as well. It may do other bits and bobs, but I think the battle pass will be the main source of revenue for that title in terms of in the free to play sphere. And as long as it's cosmetic, I don't think anyone really has that much of an issue with it.
So that's interesting you say that, because apparently there are the two tiers of Battle Pass, like you said. There is the free tier during that season, but obviously you can pay for it, which I'm assuming you will get sort of, I don't know, like I say, bigger XP boosts. That bit I don't think has been actually discussed yet. And obviously you can historically go back and pay for battle passes and stuff. But I'm surprised to hear you say that you think that's probably going to be the sort of the key money generator on this. Perhaps we'll come back to that in a sec. But Pux, you're a COD player. You've had a dabble in Fortnite. Are you a battle pass person? Is this something that's enticed you in on Halo, do you think?
I have been for Fortnite in the past a number of times when I've been really into it, because it got to, but not immediately though, because it's kind of gotten to a point where I'm playing enough and leveled up enough where it then feels worth it to pay for it, because otherwise it's like, well, I'm missing out on content here because I rightfully earned it. I just haven't gotten past the pay barrier. So when I've been really into the game and leveled up, I have dabbled in and paid for it. But outside of that, I tell a lie. I have also invested into Warzone in the past. Sorry, not Warzone. Call of Duty as a whole. The Battle Pass there, mainly for the multiplayer side of things and leveling up that way, enjoying that content. But that's not been for a while actually. So, and more recently, I haven't really seen any real reason to. Well, I suppose similar to Luke, actually, I've not been playing any games that really have a Battle Pass system, and if it does, it hasn't enticed me to pay for it. So
will this? Do you think Halo 5 is the one that's going to get you in?
I'll have to see, because I know there's like the pros and cons that have been said on the panel so far regarding how other companies do it. Will they follow suit? But then I think it depends on how it's done. So games like Fortnite, I think depending on your opinion, varying on what you think of Fortnite, but I personally think Fortnite's done quite a good job of telling a story solely through its multiplayer, through like its, they have all the different cutscenes and the CGI animations that they do, and they're constantly evolving the map, and it's telling the story of. It's obviously nobody really kind of gets what's going on until you see the next clip at the end of the season, or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, so there's continuity through the seasons.
Yeah, whereas games like Rogue Company, for example, that's got a battle pass system, and that has a free tier as well as a paid for tier, but that doesn't really do that. It's just content at that point. So. And it also depends on the game. So one of the things I don't really understand too much about Call of Duty, especially if you don't play Warzone, if you play standard multiplayer, like to really grind up the COD season pass to get skins for something that you don't even physically see yourself, apart from on the menu screen for about 10 seconds. I've never quite understood that desire, because some people just like love having XY skin attached or whatever else, but you never see the damn thing, so I don't understand why people care so much when they don't play standard multiplayer. And I say that because there have been a lot of skins that people use solely for Warzone because they're better at keeping them hidden in darker areas. For example, I think there was the Rose skin more recently, which until very recently finally got tweaked, and they increased the kind of the shininess of the surface just to make it stand out in darker areas. So I don't know if I'd invest into it immediately or not. It kind of depends on what the content's like. But I do really like the fact that, yes, you can go in any time and go up any pass if you've missed it. Because I think that the one thing I think these companies, arguably do well, quote unquote, is preying on the fear of missing out.
Yeah,
which is kind of what it's all about in a way. But then again, as also been said, I think a lot of us who aren't full-time streamers, which is the large majority of us, and have other family and life commitments, can't always commit all the time it needs to really grind up those levels. So you could put so much time into these games and really want this reward, and then maybe just miss out because, life gets in the way.
Right.
So I think it's definitely a good system to implement, and I think depending on how it's received and how it's implemented as the seasons go on, I would like to think that other companies would at least maybe consider changing their tact a bit, especially if they see it maybe bringing in more revenue because people are now more invested in these titles because they want to work on the game, rather than maybe just giving up because, I can never get to level 100 in the season, so what's the point,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Also,
valid points.
I was just going to say another game that does it as well, that brings back their old battle passes is For Honor. They
rotate them.
Yeah, they'll rotate them. So yeah, I think it just brings, I feel longevity to that multiplayer, because there will be passes that people will grind out for that they really want, and then they may want to get another one. Like I've made the mistake of spending like $20 on a pass on Call of Duty and then never finish it because I was, preoccupied with work or anything else, games or something else, and then come back and then I'm like, well, man, you know what I'm saying? Why is it that I can't, because I didn't pay, because I think it was like if you paid it was 25 or something like that. I can't remember the actual price to get that whole season, but yeah, you just feel like you've lost out on good content if you just don't have the time to just completely just play that particular game all the time. And for when Halo to do that, that just gives people to say, look, I might want to go play something else, want to go play Forza, but then I can come back here within the next month or so, and then it's right there still available to you. So I think that's a good thank you and to the gamers out there that will still stay committed to the game, even if they don't play it every day like some diehard Halo fan.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and like you say, it is consumer friendly, and perhaps we'll come back. I've got a question for you still, but we'll come to Luke first. That's a lot of content they've got to create, isn't it? I mean, if they're true to their word and they're going to create a new season every kind of 3 months, I mean, I guess that could slip. But this is a long-term game. This isn't a game that you buy every year. This is a long-term game, so they've got a lot of content to put in. Do you think there's going to be, like Pucks was saying, the continuity in the Halo universe, where one season leads into the next and things like that? Do you think they're going to do that to keep people interested in the kind of the bigger story?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they have to, right? They've said a couple of times that there's a kind of 10-year plan.
Yeah, like a narrative that runs through it all.
Yeah, and I think they said the other day as well that there's a quite important story links for your Spartan in multiplayer. That they're going to be involved in the story that they're telling going forward. In some respects. And I think if you look at the success of the likes of Fortnite, it's extremely engaging as a player of those kind of games to have that content in, right, and to have those kind of ongoing storylines that evolve over multiple seasons. So it'd probably be quite disappointing if at this point they didn't do that, because I think people are expecting it. And it can just lead to really interesting stuff, directions that you might not expect to go, and different kind of multiplayer content that comes into it. That could include over time it could include different mini modes that come into it. Overwatch is a good example of this, right, where it does they don't anymore. When it was very popular, they would do kind of and these weren't Battle Pass related, but they would do, events essentially that were tied in with the Overwatch universe. And for a period of time, usually a month or two, a couple of months, you would have, say, a PvE mode that you could all participate in that was built specifically for that period of time. So I think those are the kind of things they could do with this as well. And that's another way of kind of keeping the story ticking along. And
well, apparently there are specific events called fractures that will be coming along, and it does seem like they sit outside the battle pass or the season. So there are other events that you can kind of buy into. I don't know if that is monetized in any way. I'm guessing it might be, but that's interesting.
I think again, kind of cribbing on Overwatch as an example, I suppose. That's a game where you do have these events that are outside. I mean, there's not the same level kind of season thing going on there, but they're effectively outside of any of that. And then they do monetize those events, but not the event itself. So the event itself is for everyone. Everyone can play it. You don't need any battle pass or anything like that. But the way that Overwatch would do it was that they'd have special loot boxes that you could earn in that period, and they would result in potentially special skins that were made for that particular event, right? So you'd have a skin of one character, for example. So I could see Halo doing a similar thing where it has like an event that moves the story along that everyone can access, but in the battle pass for that season, there are specific skins tied to that event that you could unlock over time if you wanted to. So I think that's probably the way that they would do it. Seems the most sensible way.
Is anyone else finding this really exciting? What they can do in that Halo universe?
Oh yeah,
like you say.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Man,
they've
that's exciting.
undersold. They've undersold and underplayed everything that they can do with Halo. They've had so many opportunities. Just to kind of go off note a little bit, like for example, with Halo ODST and then introducing Buck, there's a whole nother side of story that they could have went that they didn't chase down, because I know many people might have not read into the books or whatever the case, but for those who don't know, in ODST, the main character who's Buck, he ends up becoming a Spartan and gets put on Team Osiris with Locke in them, and that's why you see Buck as a Spartan. He joined the program. So, and then he was also part of Oni. So, and he had his own team. And they went on a whole different complete adventure. And they already set that up with ODSC. And I was really sad not to see they didn't carry it on from there. And then there's so many other things going on just in the continuity of Halo overall that they just haven't dived into, focusing on John 117. And as much as I love Master Chief himself, and just his entire story and everything, it's just, man, there's so much more spectrum that they can tread. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel
So
the same way. I mean, I've been here saying for years now about how I appreciate what they did with Team Osiris and with Locke, and I understand that there's some people that have different thoughts about Halo 5 story or whatever, but it's the direction that they can go, and what I think that they should do, and what I'm anticipating them to do, is broaden the Halo universe like it's supposed to be. Make it more like a Star Trek or Star Wars, where you have your main protagonist like Luke Skywalker, but people also love Han Solo. They also like Chewbacca. Exactly. They like, and so that's the thing too, is where people can go outside of just looking at Master Chief as being the main focal point. And on top of that, 343, and a lot of people may not know this, that 343 created Atriox and the Banish.
Yes.
And that right there, that could be, and if you want to do it right, then and show how badass that Atriox is in the Banish, then you have to make him the Thanos of the Halo universe. Like Chief can't just walk in like he usually do and just, the only person that really gave him some smoke was the Didac, but other than that, everything else he just kind of walks over. And with Atriox and even with his underlings, if the Chief can't, if they make out Halo Infinite to where he cannot do it alone, I think that sets up a fantastic story to where you can also, just like Brain said, you can add more content further on down the line after you get done with the main story with Chief, going forward by talking about Buck, talking more about Team Osiris, more about Oni, the Shadow Team, Team Taurus, the situation with Palmer, and all the Spirit of Fire, Red Team, all of that. And this is what I'm anticipating them to do, that because if you bring back the Flood, you bring back the Covenant in some form, and even if and I don't know if they'll do this, but I'm hoping they will, since the Banish kind of takes everything, once they give you an option to join them or you die pretty much, then I can see even Spartans joining, or the humans or Spartans joining the Banish and causing even more chaos within the universe, which would set Halo to a whole nother level. And I'm hoping that they do that.
The thing that I find so exciting, though, is they've given themselves 10 years to evolve this story.
Yes.
And what other game does that? Do you know what other game has the freedom and the financial clout to give themselves a 10-year storyline and a sort of a roadmap to do these fantastic things? They must have so many ideas of where they want to take the story. Pucks, I'm conscious we've got lots of chat building up that we haven't even begun to touch yet. Chat, you guys are fantastic. Thank you all so much for being with us. Seeing new names in the chat is great. We love it when you guys get involved. Challenge us, push us, ask us questions. I know we've got a few questions for the panel, Pucks. Let's go through those if we can quite quickly.
Yep, I'll quickly go through some comments and get to the questions. So this kind of starts off right at the beginning of the show. This is regarding the introduction about Halo having seasons. So Scott, our resident GPG member, Scott XX2 says, Halo MCC does this already. It's a really good system, and I'm glad they're sticking with it. Should be said, MCC doesn't have a premium battle pass, though. Looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
Yeah.
Pong Soul, the power of the Microsoft dollar backing Xbox/Halo allows them to offer advantages to the consumer like this Infinite Battle Pass. An Infinite Battle Pass definitely entices casual Halo fans to buy in.
I still think it's still gonna make money though. It's still there to make money. I know.
Facts.
I know it's a kingpin of Game Pass, and one of the major reasons for people that don't own Game Pass to own Game Pass. But I think they're still going to want to generate cash out of it as well, to be honest. But perhaps we'll come on to that in a sec.
Yeah. Another comment from Scott, who has a question for the panel. In other battle passes, if you complete it, you get all/a lot of your payment back to use again on the next battle pass.
Right.
With this system, do you think Halo will require full payment for each?
Yeah, that's a good shout. I mean, obviously, things like Call of Duty and Fortnite do that, don't they? So as you go through the season pass, sort of when you level up, some of those are coins that you can then obviously add up and put towards next season's pass.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think that's been discussed yet, so that'll be an interesting one to see how they deal with that, to be honest. I get the feeling they will. I mean, they're quite consumer friendly. That would seem consumer unfriendly, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that just because it's been kind of like a standard thing so far. I mean, you're still going to have I'm going to say a majority, because a lot of people just don't have the time to dedicate themselves to fully complete a battle pass a lot of the time. And now, if you do, you do, but it's one of those things to where if you still have the option to buy the rest of the battle pack or the season pass, whatever the case, if you can, just having that option there, I think they'll still end up making up whatever money if they wanted to include it in. I'm pretty sure that's how Call of Duty still does it, or just having other outside cosmetics that they could add into. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Xbox could maybe step it up even further by rewarding people to play more by what is that, the claims that you get for being part of not only Game Pass but just the Ultimate, where they give you those
the perks.
The perks. That's exactly it. Yeah, so I can see them even stepping it up even further by adding perks to get people more invested, not only into Game Pass but also to go after this certain type of, armor or things like that, because of just like what everybody's saying. It's like, look, time is a necessity. So it's like, hey, if I'm signed up to this, then maybe I can get these perks and I can get a boost to where I can be already 30% ahead or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of advantages that they can have. And then on top of that, that's 343 is a huge studio. I knew that there was a lot of people that was on the camp of wanting 343 to, maybe make other IPs. But now I think since they've kind of shown people how the magnitude of what Halo Infinite's going to be like and how in the stretches, they're going to need all hands on deck to make sure that they have plenty of content to go out to people and so forth.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I completely agree. Pucks, there was a few other questions for the panel.
Yep, I've got a few more one particular comment I'm going to read out as well, and you'll get why, from Baldman Gamer, who says, if Halo comes out before or after November 15th, 2021, I'll donate a game giveaway on Green Pass Gaming. That's how confident I am it's this date. So we're going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Question here from Stubbs Gaming, who says, question for the panel, can Halo Infinite go head-to-head with the big titans Call of Duty and Battlefield?
That's a question, isn't it?
Yes.
You think so?
No doubt about it. No doubt in my mind. I mean, if you noticed, Halo and Forza Forza's been coming in more in September, but Halo and Gears kind of been that steady gravy train for Microsoft. That Halo is just a phenomenon, man. It's one of the Rushmores of some of the greatest games out there. It is. So yeah, no, it could definitely hold up. I mean, if you look at like with Halo 5 generated over $400 million within a week. Call of Duty, that was on all platforms, did that I think in 2 weeks. So just think about that for a second, because Halo 5 is not on any other platform except for Xbox. So that should show you just, and Halo 5 just got, it wasn't the most popular Halo. So just think about this Halo that has gotten everybody excited and got that, and everybody's from people like me who's fans of Halo 5, other people who's more fans of Reach and Halo 1 through 3. The nostalgia is back, and I feel that this Halo is going to probably be the biggest one yet, if not close to what 2 did.
Well, that's interesting you say that because, and I'll come to you on this one, Luke, if you don't mind. On last week's show, we were saying about how kind of ballsy Microsoft can be releasing their games into Game Pass. But it seems in an interview this week that Phil Spencer alluded to the fact that the reason they gave kind of a not a definite or definitive date for Halo Infinite's launch is because they were going to, in quoted commas, see what other titles were doing. Luke, I'm guessing we assume he's talking about Battlefield and Call of Duty. But do you think they should actually? Do you think Call of Duty and Battlefield should actually be worried about the Halo launch, or do you not think it quite works that way around?
I think maybe something like Battlefield would be worried about Halo launching. I don't think Call of Duty really has that much to worry about. I think. Look, I'm a huge. I mean, everybody knows how big of a Halo fan I am. I've got Master Chief right there, for example, on the screen. But Halo is not. It just is not the juggernaut that it was back in the 1 to 3 days. Now that's not to say that it can't be again, and certainly, what it's doing with Infinite or the direction that appears to be heading in, it could absolutely make a renaissance, like a big renaissance, and I think it will, as long as they don't muck up the campaign. But, I think Phil's probably just being rightfully cautious in that, yes, Halo is a very big game. I'd argue it's got, it's probably a bigger franchise than Battlefield is historically. I'm not sure about the modern day, but I definitely could surpass that. But they're not competing for, dollars on these games. They're competing for time. And I think that's the main thing that he's looking out for is that, the metrics for Halo when it launches, be that Game Pass or the free-to-play multiplayer, are going. They will be massive, but they will want as those numbers to be as big as possible. And if you're launching that near, first-person shooters that have huge multiplayer presence, like Call of Duty and Battlefield, inevitably your launch isn't going to be as big as it could be, because you'll have people in that period playing those games. So I think that's clearly that's why they have that launch date in flux and why they're just kind of waiting and seeing, where's Call of Duty going to fall in that and where's Battlefield. Well, they know where Battlefield's going to fall, but and trying to pick a date that's safe enough to get maximum impact when they launch. That's frustrating for any Halo fan because I think all we want right now is just when's the day that I can play that game, right? But it's smart to do that. But I don't necessarily think that other games are going to be worried about Halo or vice versa. I don't think that they're worried about, they're not thinking, well, we're going to cannibalize sales here or something like that. It's more just, when's the optimal time to launch this so we can get as many people in as possible? Because, I mean, the beauty, I guess, of Game Pass and Halo going free to play is they will always have big numbers. That's not going to be an issue. It's just how big can they be?
It's a really interesting one this year, isn't it? Particularly with Call of Duty. I'm a big Call of Duty player. It's my guilty pleasure. We brought it up in the confessions. I like Call of Duty. It's kind of out of fashion. It's not cool to like Call of Duty, but I do like it. And the thing that's even less cool is I like the Second World War aspect of it. And obviously they're going back to Second World War this year. But I know a lot of people and a lot of COD fans don't like the fact that it's going back to World War II. They prefer the sort of semi, near modern stuff or even sort of future modern stuff with the guns and stuff like that. And I think a lot of Call of Duty people are a little bit sort of cautious around going back to World War II. So I think that could actually work in Halo's favour as well this year, with this particular launch of Call of Duty as well. Pucks, let's carry on with the questions, my friend. I'm conscious we're still only about halfway through.
Yeah, and I've got a few more coming in as well. I'll go through some comments on them here as well. So one here from Bam Bam V3 who says, I feel like they could flesh out some other characters of DLC or expansions in Infinite, similar to what Still Rain said. What else have I got? Pyro M says, the 10-year plan for Halo would lead into so much single-player content too, as there is a whole Super Halo ring to explore over that time.
Yeah. Wow.
Super Cosmic Puma has a question for us who says, what did the panel think of the importance of local servers from a global perspective?
Oh, that's interesting. Still Rain, do you want to field that one?
What was the question one more time? Sorry.
Yep, it was, what do you think of the importance of local servers from a global perspective?
For local servers, as far as what, like Halo's concerned, or just overall for Xbox?
This is considering Halo.
Yeah.
For global, I think it would be something that they would definitely need to consider. Considering that we still deal with game releases coming out and the server crashing that first day or having issues with it, the first couple of days of the game can turn people off or keeps people away. I would hope that with everything that Microsoft is working on within the cloud and then also on the back end with their servers, that they're going to open up more. I think global servers would help out more. We do tend to see, for example, I'll just use Gears of War, for example, when they separated out to where you can choose. I mean, and there's multiple games that do this. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. But just using Gears as an example, where you can choose the region that you want to play within to where you have the best ping. So you make sure that you have the best connection to whatever area or whatever server that you feel like you would need to connect to. The only problem with the global servers thing is that you don't want to isolate your players too much either. I really would hope that they start really taking into consideration dedicated servers, because that alleviates a lot of that, to where if on a dedicated server, if you just don't have a good connection, you might not connect. You know what I mean? So that way, just ensuring that everybody's having a level playing field and everybody's having an equal experience. So
yeah, funny enough, during the tournament, we took it in turns when we were playing people stateside. We took it in turns. I think we did 2 or 3 games each just to try and make it fair, because obviously, like you say, there is an advantage. And right. Halo Master Chief Collection is one of those games where you can select the region. I think from memory is either 1 or 2 servers in Europe. I think there's about 3 in the States. Okay. You kind of got West Coast, East Coast and stuff like that. But it does make a difference, to be honest. And of course, if you are losing through whatever through whatever means, then, it's always nice to be able to blame the server and the lag and the ping and stuff.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. I just hope that as we move further down the line, that we see more and more dedicated servers, especially for first-party games. I just think it's kind of one of those things where you should have them just to make sure that your player base has an excellent experience. So,
just to clarify on that as well, Super Cosmic Human has just come back saying, I asked the server question as Gears has no servers in regions where COD does, and as a result, people choose COD over Gears. As an example, Southern African players get at best 140 ping on Gears and 30 on COD.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually, because it's all very well living in sort of Western Europe or in the States and stuff. But obviously there's many, many more countries around the world that aren't necessarily catered for in inverted commas with a local sort of server and
I would
stuff.
say
and so you are.
It varies.
I would even say that if they would take a page from Battlefield and do and have those type of servers.
Specific servers.
And so where people can just, rent them. And do that if it comes to a situation where people are having issues. I guarantee you people would appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
No, absolutely.
I've got another question from the chat to the panel. So Baldman Gamer asks, for the panel, which is the best Halo game in your opinion, including the Halo Wars franchise? This is a fun one. Who wants to go first?
K-Mega. Let's go K-Mega first. We'll go in order.
Okay. Halo 5. Halo 5 is my favorite one. My reasons is not because so much of I love the story, but it's not my favorite story. Halo 4 and Halo 2 are my favorite stories. But for me, seeing a black protagonist that had was a strong leader. He wasn't over the top. He wasn't a cold. He wasn't funny.
Yeah,
he was straight to the point. He was direct. He was a true leader. And then this team altogether was just, I love that. That meant something for me. And that's why, I always do the little thing, hashtag save Locke, because I know a lot of people want Locke to be dead or killed off because they feel that he's trying to take over Chief or not anything like that. But Halo 5 was just special. And of course, the multiplayer, I know for the Halo fans who love 1 through 3, I know that I'm probably making them pull their ears off right now. But I feel that the multiplayer was just absolutely the best. It was up with the times. It was fast, fluent. I am going to miss the ground pound and the dash, but I can definitely. But I see that the running and clamoring is still there. So in Infinite, so I'm still pleased with that. And then of course with the grappling hook, so there's all different possibilities with that. But Halo 5 was my overall favorite Halo.
I love the fact that I think in the recent clips, I mean, obviously you can use the grappling hook to traverse parts of the map, but I love the fact he could just go and grab a weapon from quite far away with the grappling hook and just pull the weapon towards it. So that's pretty cool. Luke, same question. What's your favorite Halo?
Combat Evolved. Yeah, quite easily for me. I think it's probably if you go back and play them now, it's probably not. It isn't the best game out of them. Like it definitely isn't. But I just have so many memories of that game. It was I got an Xbox, I got Halo with it. That was the first game I played. I still remember being blown away by, landing on the Halo ring and looking at the grass textures and stuff like that. And it was just a whole, and then the flood. Appearing, like there are so many iconic moments from that game for me that it's at least my favorite game. Definitely not 5. No offense to K-Maker, because the actual rationale for that was actually quite good. Combat Evolved for sure for me.
Okay. Ballman Gamer says 5 was his favorite as well, which surprised me to be honest. Steel Rain, what's yours?
I'm gonna say for campaign wise, I'm gonna go 2. Just because it was during that time, it was really iconic, especially coming off the heels of Combat Evolved, bringing in the Arbiter and everything and his storyline. I was highly invested in the both of them and what they did, bringing the two together. I thought that was really badass. I'm also going to say for multiplayer wise, I'm also going to say I'm on the fence between 2 and 3, more so for memory sakes. Also because I was doing MLG at the time, game battles. I was playing at a very competitive level during that time. So it just brings a lot of memories back for me. But I can agree with K-Mega that now, like, if I like overall, as far as like a multiplayer game goes, especially for Halo, I feel like it evolved pretty well over the decades. You know what I mean? And did well to still be Halo, but still kind of remain the king that's kind of been just hanging in the corner for a little bit. So
fair enough. Pucks, what's yours?
Yeah, for me, it's Halo 3. Without a doubt.
Okay.
But I have to say, this does come with a bit of a caveat, though, because it's no secret, but last gen I played PS4, to no shame, of course. So I kind of missed out completely on Halo 4 and 5 at that time. Since jumping on to back on Xbox on what is now current gen, I've definitely dabbled in Halo 4 and a bit of Halo 5, and I've enjoyed them. But again, I've not jumped into them enough to kind of really say that, oh yeah, this is definitely my favourite game or otherwise. So it's also mainly because I had so much nostalgic memories of the fun Halo 3 multiplayer, like the whole, back in the day and all that kind of jazz. Yep. And similar to what Steel Rain was saying as well, like Halo 3, when you like playing through the campaign co-op with you and the Arbiter side by side and with friends, that was such a phenomenal experience for me and my friends at the time that did play, and I absolutely loved it. And no other game has been like that because I haven't played many of the more recent ones to any kind of full extent. But due to the fact that that's the main one I've put so many hours to out of all of the others, that's got to be my favourite.
Oh, see, it's interesting because I think 2's my favourite. I think I agree with Steel Rain because it was the first. I never played Combat Evolved. Not on the. I never had. Never had an OG Xbox. It was the kind of the first one I came across, and you hear all of the sort of all of the fuss around Halo and stuff, and it's not until you get into it, it's like, oh wow, yeah, this is pretty damn cool. And obviously we went through the tournament as well, and I think probably my favorite multiplayer was probably 3. I think. What's your favorite multiplayer, Luke? Out of the Master Chief Collection, well, probably not including 4 because that's kind of Call of Duty controls almost, I guess. But.
Probably 2. Actually,
okay.
I think that's the one I played the most on. It has the most memorable maps for me.
It's weird, isn't it? How games kind of imprint themselves on your heart, gamer heart,
yes,
to a certain degree.
Yes,
it's weird, isn't it? And to be honest, sequels come and go, and you like them, and you appreciate how they've evolved the the mechanics and the story. But there's always that one that sort of just gets you. And like you say, Pucks, for you, it's 3 and stuff because of the the gameplay mechanic where you're playing with other people and stuff. But it's always great when games do that. I love that.
Yeah.
Right, what else have we got, Pucks?
I've still got more if you want me to keep going.
Wow. Just do a couple more.
I've got a comment here. It's not a question, but I feel like it could pose a question. So this is from Kenta Wilson, who says, to be honest, the people who play COD don't play Halo anyway. So this is regard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to say that because it's hard to say that, and I'm gonna make this comment because when when Call of Duty 4 originally released on console, it was one of the most amazing experiences to me just because of what it brought to the genre. Because the thing about me, because like people always compare it like, oh, a Halo can't compete with Call of Duty or a Battlefield. No, it can't, because there's 2 different style of games. You're comparing a space shooter to a realistic quote unquote shooter, which Battlefield is, and then Call of Duty it's always about time. TTK was time to kill. So it's like they're so varying, and Call of Duty is more fast paced, like Halo, whatever the case might be. But I was a Halo player, and I loved Call of Duty for what it was. I just got tired of the Call of Duty constantly doing the same shit. Doing the same things over and over again. And then
felt like he was on GRG for a minute.
Also, and then always, going back in time. I'm not a complete fan of continuously going back in time. It's like, man, I get it. I get we want to talk about the war. You want to go from different aspects or whatever. But from like a gameplay standpoint, like it just gets old after a while. So it's always that like fine line. It's like to me personally now, I'm completely over Call of Duty. Like I don't want to play another Call of Duty for a while. So, but I couldn't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, me neither. Because I just wanted to just say I can't agree with that either because of I got COD. I was playing COD just last week sometime because I still have friends that likes to play it, and then of course this week I put in I played Halo 5 like 2 or 3 times this week, so it's one of those things to me. Like I know the difference between both of them, and I enjoy both for what they are. I don't take COD as seriously as I do Halo, but if I just want to come in and just go in and have some fun, and just play a shooter, COD it's still there and is always going to be there, even regardless of how different or how much the same that they all kind of feel. But that's the difference between it, and Battlefield is completely different than COD as well. So so I feel that there's a space between all of them. But but no, I play all 3 of them. So I disagree with that.
No, I agree, and I think for me personally, I'm in a slightly different headspace when I'm playing each of those games because they for me they fulfill different things for me, if that makes sense.
Yes,
I love the fast twitch response that you get with Call of Duty, whereas with Halo, it's all around those headshots and the accuracy. You can actually be less accurate in Call of Duty if you're getting the first few bullets in.
Right.
Whereas with Halo, it's all about those headshots. And yeah, like I say, I just enjoy them on different levels. I can understand why they ask that question, and I kind of agree on some levels because I think some people do have that mentality. I think they are one or the other. But I think lots of gamers can actually span both. It's just that they feed, like I say, different parts of the brain, perhaps. But so it's a good question. Right, what's we got, Pucks? Just a couple more.
I've got one more question in my storage here. So this is from Pyro M, who says, question for the panel. Do you think 343 will give mod support for Halo Infinite, as they recently added it to MCC?
Absolutely.
You think?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, because of
Okay.
the Forge. The
Ah.
reason they expanded the Forge on PC to greater heights. Like it's crazy. And already you hear in interviews that they've talked about how special Forge has become. So there's no doubt in my mind, especially when you're going to have some of these creative guys or girls out there that's on the PC going to do some crazy things with Forge. Uh, it would make perfect sense to add mods as well into the game. I mean, because that kind of you see that Xbox is trying to merge that Xbox PC relationship. So why not do that? They already kind of did that with Skyrim. So you should think that that should be up with Xbox and PC's wheelhouse, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I completely agree. Cool. I've just got one very last quick one for the panel, guys. Just before we round out this topic, we've been an hour on this one. I've really enjoyed this one as well. But just quick, we did mention at the top of the show that we were wondering if perhaps other developers might look at this season and Battle Pass stance that 343 are taking, in the fact that obviously you can go back to historic seasons and play them for the battle price. For the Battle Pass price. Do you think Gears might go along the same lines, because obviously it's an Xbox studio? I guess external developers might not want to do that, but do you think Xbox might be setting an internal precedent for this kind of thing? Let's go to you on that one, Luke, for you, if that's okay.
I think it's possible, but I think a large part of that point comes down to the fact that Halo multiplayer is going free to play.
Right.
And I think if Gears goes a similar route, then I could see that. But Gears seems to have its own kind of special system that seems pretty ingrained in its multiplayer in terms of monetization, etc. So I guess they may continue with that. It seems quite successful, so they may just continue with that, and they'll just treat Halo as its own thing. And of course the difference is as well that there's no 10-year plan for a single Gears game that we know of. So there's going to be another, there'll be another Gears game and another Gears game, etc. So I don't think they will go down that route with Gears, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I think you're right. Like you say, it's not Gears isn't technically free to play, unlike obviously Halo Infinite and stuff. So there is lots of reasons why that probably wouldn't happen. But it would be interesting just to see if they are going to set an internal precedent. You never know. If it kind of works out for them and they see that it's a benefit to having Game Pass. I mean, I don't know if you are a Game Pass subscriber, whether, like you were saying, K-Mega, you might get a perk that gives you some money off the Battle Pass, just as another sort of tease or incentive into Game Pass. That would kind of make sense, and probably they wouldn't be losing too much money over that, because they'd be gaining on subscriptions potentially, I guess. That'd be an interesting one to see if that pans out. But excellent. Well, guys, I'm going to have to round this one up. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night, literally. I really enjoyed that. So thank you for your comments on this one. Halo always brings the fire.
Oh, yeah.
We got the rain. We got the still rain in the house, so we can rain on the fire for a bit and cool things down slightly. But no, that's really cool. No, I appreciate that. Chat, you've been fantastic on this one. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. So just before we move on, this game is called Superliminal. I don't know if anyone's actually played it. It's actually a little indie game. It's available on Xbox. It is. It's not on Game Pass. I do try and play games that are on Game Pass, but this is a real mindfuck kind of game. It's one of those. It plays with perspectives and all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff. So if you're into sort of 3D platform puzzlers, this is a fantastic game. So I highly recommend this Superliminal. It's been out a couple of years, to be honest, but it's crazy. So let's move on to topic 2 then. I posed the question on Twitter, probably earlier in the week, I believe, around whether Cyberpunk's worth jumping back into on the Xbox Series X specifically. That was kind of on the back that PlayStation have allowed it back on their Play Store. A little bit crazy. They obviously took it down. It's just recently had a patch up to 1.23, and I think there's a patch 1.3 on its way too. But the strange thing about PlayStation on the Play Store is that they gave the caveat or the recommendation of not actually playing it on the base PS4, so PS4 Pro, PS5. And I got the game at Christmas and kind of started playing it, and it was a bit too buggy for my liking because I wanted to really enjoy it, and there was some silly bugs in there. There was palm trees bending and all sorts of things, and I ran a poll, and it was quite close, actually. I was really surprised how close it was. Over 150 votes. It was roughly 50-50 people saying, yeah, definitely get back into it. And and I just thought I'd open it up to the panel, really. I'll go to you first, Luke, because I know you played it on PC. I don't know if you actually completed it. Is it something you're going to jump back into now it's been patched a little more, or are you done with it?
I think I'm pretty much done with it. I may return to it at some point. I didn't complete it. Right. I got about I want to say about 17 hours in. Ish. And I've tried to go back to it a few times, but really my issues with it aren't. I think actually the bugginess of the game to me is a bit of a misnomer because yes, it was really buggy at launch. Obviously, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions were horrendously bad. The PC version has always been the best version. It's been certainly the least buggy, although that's not saying much. And the most, kind of the best optimized version. Obviously, I'm running it on pretty high hardware, but my issue with the game, actually, what I discovered a couple of weeks ago when I tried to go back to it, isn't that it's buggy. It's just that I don't think it's very good at all. And no amount as a game, yeah, and no amount of cleaning up the bugs will help that. So I think, because it has, I mean, I don't want to review the game, but I just think it has so many issues as a title away from the bugs that it's really hard. It's been really hard for me to get into it. There was a period, I'm thinking the first kind of between hours of 10 and 15 that I played, where I did really start enjoying it, but other things quickly came to the surface, and it's just not enjoyable for me at all. And it's really surprising because, Witcher 3, I absolutely adored. And I think, people have different thoughts on that game as well, right? That, some people really loved it and others really didn't like it. And CD Projekt Red, their games seem to elicit this kind of reaction where some people really love their titles and others don't. And they have their own foibles and issues and their own great bits as well. But, I was really looking forward to Cyberpunk. But I just don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy any element of it, actually. It looks great, especially on PC with ray tracing. And I think, at 60 FPS, etc., and when the next gen patch comes out, I'm sure people will enjoy that. But for me, I just can't get back into it because I just don't think it's very good. Bit of a controversial. I'll put that up there with my Red Dead 2 opinion as well. But
we'll have to stick Cyberpunk on the confessionals. But,
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
And to be honest, we talk about the next gen patch, and lots of comments in that tweet were saying, I'm waiting for the next gen patch and stuff. But of course, if you've got it on PC, you've pretty much got the next gen patch anyway. So and if you're still not happy with it, then I don't think the next gen patch is going to rescue the game.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't change the experience of the game. It makes it look better, sure, but if you have issues with the game, no amount of ray tracing or higher fidelity textures or a higher frame rate, any of that's not going to make any difference to the game. It didn't for me. I played it, as I say, I played it at the optimal experience, as good as it can get across anything, and I didn't like it. Which is a shame because I think it had tons of potential, but to me, again, leave aside the bugs, you can see that game needed considerable more development time, not just we're talking issues.
Yeah, we're talking a year, if not two, back in the album.
Yeah, I'd probably say two at a minimum that needed to make it to bring that game to the vision of clearly what they wanted it to be. It probably needed a couple of years. And it just isn't that.
No, I completely agree. Steel Rain, where are you on Cyberpunk? Did you complete it? Is it is it a huge disappointment, or did you like it? Because it does divide people again. Looking at the poll, 150 votes, it's kind of 50-50. It is a real divisive game. What's your take on it?
just a little background on it. I was on the fence about Cyberpunk when it first initially released. And then I had the bros, my brother Pong Soul, and then also the homie at Tempest Sun, kind of talked. I was watching their whole experience that they were having with it. They were taking screenshots, posting it on Twitter, and I ended up taking the dive. And to be completely honest, I thoroughly enjoyed everything that I got out of Cyberpunk. I put I'm going to say right under 50 hours into the game.
Right.
I did
so you've completed it.
Yeah, I've completed. I completely beat it. Got one of the best endings that you can get in the game. Not even trying. I was just following however my play style, and that's just something for me. Cyberpunk was an overall solid game. I know a lot of people were complaining about the bugs and the issues and things like that. And some of the things that I did notice, again, like Luke, I played on PC also. I thought you say at the optimal experience. And there was a few bugs that kind of, took me out of the experience at times. For example, I was in one cutscene and when I was talking to Judy, I believe, and it would pull me out of the completely out of the building. So I couldn't see inside the building anymore. Yeah. So I had to completely miss an entire cutscene because of that. So that was a turnoff for me. But at the same time, I just said, oh, it's whatever. Chalked it up for the game just being out new. I knew I at the time felt like the game still needed some time in the oven. But even with that being said, the story from start to finish had me completely invoked in everything. I continuously wanted to push forward and just enjoy everything that I was getting out of it. The guns were off the chain. The combat was cool. And I didn't have any issues with the AI or anything like that or anything crazy. I was also playing on the harder difficulties. So for me, I still would recommend for people to wait for the next gen release again, but I'm only going to tell you that if you had an interest in Cyberpunk from the beginning, or if somebody was able to talk you into it or convince you, say, hey man, this might be worth some of your time, like I was. Again, I was completely on the fence about it. I made the leap of faith, and I completely enjoyed the game. I think it's what has one of the greatest stories that I've played within the last decade. But
wow.
with that being said, yeah, there's just the whole, just everything that they did within the game. I don't want to keep it spoiler free, but just everything that they did, the game, the pacing and everything, I thought it was done really well. It was expansive. Again, that's just me. I also didn't experience a lot of the bugs, but I also try to preface that with, I don't want to disregard anybody that had those issues or whatever the case, because I know it was a big thing that people were dealing with. I know people were complaining about the T-posing and the a lot of the AIs and the people would not interact with the vehicles, and the vehicles was all over the place. There was little things that a lot of people were complaining about that I just didn't experience per se, except my car getting launched up the side of a building one time. But other than that, it was very minimal for me. So I was able to enjoy it in its full and really enjoy the story and everything that it brought. I'm also a Keanu Reeves fan, so him being in it was another enjoyable part for me. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed what he brought to it, and just the overall energy and everything that was that they did with it was a great experience for me. But yeah, I'm still on that same fence, that where if somebody would ask me, I would say, hey, just wait until that next gen patch. Check it out then if you were interested in it. If not, I'm sorry to say, but the hype that it created killed itself.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I think that was one of the comments. I think it was Ballman Gamer mentioned that, it was actually the hype that killed itself, really. Mega, obviously a very divisive game. Which side of the fence do you sit on this one?
I think me and Luke should have a show, and it should be a version of Siskel and Ebert when it comes to gaming, because we are completely opposite on everything so far. But I tell because of and it really blew my mind because he said he loved The Witcher 3, which I thought The Witcher 3 is one of the best games of the last 20 years.
Yeah, agree.
It's a fantastic title. But see, if you remember, The Witcher 3 was broken too when it first came out, and then it took about a couple of years before they actually patched it all out. Because once I started playing it, then I had to stop because they wanted to fix the menus and all that. And then once I went back a couple of years later, or about a year and a half later, and then I completed it. I missed out because, of course, when you first start back, you're like, oh man, I don't remember too much. But then you get into a side quest, and then it just takes you away. I felt the same way with Cyberpunk. I had problems, but not to the extent of what a lot of people were having, especially on the older consoles. I had it on the Series X. I would say it probably 80% good, 20% bad with the flaws within the game, bugs wise. But oh my goodness, yeah. But I couldn't. I enjoyed that game so much. I beat it, and then I went back and played it again. So yeah, I got about like 150, 160 hours into it. So I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought the game, how I like games is the character building, especially if I'm going to dive into some single player games like that. I cared about Judy. I cared about Pan Am. I cared about, I even started to care about Johnny. And it's just he was disrespectful bastard, but you started to care about him because of the things that goes on within the game. But I dug the whole concept with it. And the one thing that blew my mind, even though, like, of course, the HDR aspect of it would come and go on the Series X. But that city was amazing. I thought that like Grand Theft Auto City was really great, but the city itself was just full of life to me. It made that city almost feel believable, just because of just how much I did within it. The side missions, and I thought that, and this is where I get the whole Witcher 3 aspect from it, is the side missions mattered. Just like in Witcher 3, those side missions mattered. There was those other little, like, little funny quests that you had to do for the police department that were just kind of fetch quests, but the side missions itself, and there were tons of them, they all meant something. And so when you got I got one ending that was pretty crazy, and then I had a good ending, but it was kind of sad because of I can't go no further. But anyway, but I thought the game was great. And I do recommend people to try it, especially it's going to be on disc. They're going to discount it. Once you get and if people got the Series S or the Series X, it's a no-brainer. I would say if you don't have a new console yet, I would say to probably hold off until you can get a chance to get one, or if you already have a mid-end to a high-end PC, go ahead and give it a shot, man, because by the time I think they'll have the patches taken care of and done, they'll do a discount. I'm pretty sure maybe about $30-$40. So I think that game was worth it for that price.
So wow. I mean, Pucks, you and I were kind of similar. I was seeing bugs that you wasn't, and I was sending you screenshots of stuff that I was seeing. And you were like, wow, I've not seen any of that. And I think, lots of people, and we both had, we're both on the Series X, so it's not even like it was a cross-platform thing. People having very different experiences on the same platform. Now, I know you dropped it as well, Pucks. Has any of the chat tonight enticed you back in, do you think, or are you still gonna not dive back in?
I do intend to dive back in, but I think a lot of people say that about games, and I suppose the current gaming landscape, where there's just so much new stuff releasing like soon, especially after the Xbox Showcase, for example, got 27 games coming to Game Pass, all that kind of jazz, and a number of big titles coming out late July, for August into October, and then of course you've got the bigger titles that release in the holiday season as well. So as much as I want to say yes, I do want to jump back in, and that is true, I just don't think we're going to have the time, if I'm perfectly honest, because there's so much other stuff that is going to take my time more.
Yeah, I've just put up on the screen what we've got coming. This is a screen grab I did of upcoming titles. So yeah, Chris Tales, Microsoft Flight Sim, Ascent, Lemnis Gate, Hades, Psychonauts 2, Origami 2, and that's just in the next couple of months. That's crazy. And like you say, I think Luke was saying around, it's not so much around the game. It's just finding the time to play. It's for me, it's competing against all of the other fantastic titles coming up, I guess, at the moment. So it sounds like it's similar for you, Pucks.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I put about about 20 to 25 hours into the game, and I think for the first maybe 10 to 12, I was, flawless, bug free. I did not understand what the whole media faff was about. Like, what is everybody moaning about? This is nowhere near as bad as what everyone's making it out to be on the internet or whatever else. But then it did start happening, and I'm not that guy that's like, oh my god, it's got a bug, I'm not going to play it. Like, we're all used to bugs now, especially if you love the Elder Scrolls games and Fallout, right?
God,
But it got to a point where, similar to what Still Rain was saying, like, I had points where, because I play with subtitles on, I'm that guy that just prefers it that way. And I was in in-game cutscenes where, like, I only knew that there was something not working properly because I could see the subtitles appear, but there was no voices, for example. So it doesn't, like, it sounds like a minor thing, but when you're, like, so engrossed and really enjoying the experience, and if something like that happens, it could really pull you out. And it did actually quite negatively impact it in a way, like my experience of it. And
it just breaks the immersion. That's exactly that's the problem I had with it.
And it was getting worse and worse and worse. And bear in mind, I got my Series X 3 days before Christmas, and it came with Valhalla, which I played for a bit, but I was really looking forward to Cyberpunk. I got that for Christmas, so I started playing that, really enjoyed it. And then, as you said, Vlad, like, then the bugs started happening. It was getting worse and worse, and to the point I was like having to hard reset my console just to get certain things to potentially work. I got it that level of bad, and it really ruined it for me to the point I was like, I think it got to, I don't know, very early January, and I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to jump back on Valhalla again because I only put in maybe 3 hours in at this point. And then that took up the rest of my January, and then other games came out, and then I just didn't return to Cyberpunk. And it's kind of currently in that state. And I still look forward to seeing when the new patch notes come out, and I read through it, and there's a lot of stuff which is being fixed, which is good news. But again, as all the panel have said, I can't help but feel that maybe it's too little too late, because the gaming landscape is just ever moving forward, and there's just so much extra content coming out. People, I don't think, are too bothered about going backwards to a game rather than looking forward to new games coming out in the future, if that makes sense.
Right. No, it does make absolute sense. I'm in exactly the same boat, and I can actually speak on behalf of Scott SX2 here as well, because I know he's of the same opinion. I think for him, they've blown it. They've blown that game. I think he had so much hype and excitement for it, and that it's just done. I see it as perhaps, I don't know, in a year's time, when it is absolutely patched to Kingdom Come and fully working as you'd kind of expect, and obviously the next gen patch is here, I might dive back in and see how it is and stuff, because I did start enjoying the story.
Can I just add, though, that I've just seen a comment in the chat from Super Cosmic Puma, who says, I think the comment about the Cyberpunk world/city is why I want to jump in now. It's what I originally wanted to experience. And that was obviously K-Mega that said that. But I completely agree with that. Like, for the time I was playing it, I really enjoyed my experience, like, bar my bug issues. And again, I completely agree with K-Mega that the city and how detailed everything is, especially if you're playing on like a Series X, because I know last gen now did have some serious issues in terms of visually drawing massive crowds and stuff just due to power. But like, for all the time that you was actually in the city, like, it was phenomenal. Like, you really did feel engrossed as a player, and that was its whole world going on. As I say, unfortunately for me, I pulled out earlier than expected, but by all means, Super Cosmic, I mean, I do recommend you at least try it, because maybe the current bug fixes are to a point where you will play it bug free and you will absolutely love it. So if you have the time, I think it definitely is a good time to jump in.
I definitely agree. I've just looked and checked my stats because I wanted to make sure that I was right. But yeah, I put 7 days, 17 hours, and 1 minute into it. So so that's basically close to 200 hours. So I loved it. I loved every bit of it, and I don't know. That's for me. I think they gave it the same treatment. The studio that makes with The Witcher, CD Projekt Red, they put the same love into the side missions and into the story, like they did The Witcher. That's how I felt about it. But it's just a modern game. I think what hurt it is, of course, that they overhyped this game, the media, everyone, and then the anticipation got there, and then it just laid an egg. And unfortunately, they can't get that back. So they're I don't think they'll ever get the esteem or the love that it should have got. But that's but that's on them because they should have had the game ready to go at launch.
It's strange, isn't it? Because, had this game been what they promised, that would have been an absolute masterclass in how to hype and promote a game.
No doubt.
But unfortunately, that their hype machine and media presence was 10 out of 10. It's just that the game at the time was probably a 4 out of 10, unfortunately, particularly at launch, obviously. But yeah, wow, very divisive, and it split the chat, it split the panel, and as you can see on Twitter, it split people. It's a really interesting topic, and like you say, for such a game that had such presence and everyone was excited for, it's just such a shame it's ended up like this. I just hope they do a No Man's Sky on it, where they just keep plugging away, and don't let it drag them down, and they just turn it into the game that it should have been from launch. Hopefully, I hope they do that. And as a few people were saying, yeah, the DLC will be interesting. Obviously, once they got to a point where they feel they can relaunch DLC and the game's fixed enough, it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. And they might actually be able to do a soft launch, and get people back involved with it, perhaps. Yeah, wow. Well, that's topic 2 done, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Wow. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. Like I say, the topic came about obviously because of PlayStation sticking it back on their Play Store, which was quite a big deal if you think about it. Them actually taking it off the store. I can only imagine the conversations that were happening at CD Projekt Red. But like Luke says, it's difficult to have sympathy because they were masters of their own kind of downfall on that one, unfortunately. But anyway, fantastic. Chat, thank you. As always, a fantastic chat. And we're just going to move on to topic 3. And topic 3 is kind of split in two a little bit, but it does kind of link together, so stick with us. And we're going to start with Battlefield 2042 and the fact that they've announced that they will be populating any gaps on their servers with bots. Now, bots, I thought bots was a thing of the past, really. I mean, obviously, in some of the Call of Duties, you can play local matches with bots and get used to the maps and stuff. But to actually have them live on servers in multiplayer games isn't so popular nowadays. It does, there are other games that do it, but to see it in Battlefield, and obviously, Battlefield 2042 can host some huge maps as well. So I can kind of see why they do it to allow the lobby to fill up and the game to go ahead. But let's come to you first, if that's okay, Luke, on this one. Just wondering what your thoughts on bots in 2042 are going to be like. Is that something that's going to put you off, do you think, or do you not care whatsoever?
I think I mean the feature itself, I don't necessarily mind. I query the reason for it because I can't imagine that. When the game launches in particular, that it will have trouble filling up lobbies with 128 players. I guess
particularly cross-platform. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, although I don't think DICE have said anything at the moment about cross-platform play, have they?
Battlefield 5 has it, but not with PlayStation. I don't believe it's PC and Xbox, isn't it?
Yeah, and also obviously there's the difficulty with this one, that there's going to be no cross-platform play in terms of the current gen to last gen, right? Because the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions have 64 players and rather than 128. So they've not said anything yet. As you say, if you would think there would be cross-platform play between the series consoles, maybe PlayStation and PC. But it's just it's just a weird one. Do I want to play in a game where there's bots? No, obviously not. I'd rather have a full 128 real people playing the game. That's the optimal experience.
I can just imagine a couple of bots in your squad and you're down and they're not reviving you and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
How frustrating that would be.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a fun experience. So,
no.
So yeah, I guess it's probably just there for those rare occasions where there's some massive connection issues, or perhaps in the future when the popularity of the game starts to dwindle, and there's maybe not enough people at any one time, for every game that's going on in the world to be populating to be fully populating a 128 player match. So, but yeah, I mean, I agree that it's definitely it wouldn't be an ideal way to play that game. at all. So it's a bit of an odd one. I don't really have any hugely strong feelings towards it, other than to say that I wouldn't want it in my games. But I guess if it's one or two bots that were populating like any individual game, that's fine. But obviously, if you've ended up with 15, I mean, it's just at that point, it's just going to be a weird game to play, I suppose, isn't it? So
yeah, no, absolutely.
I think we'll have to wait and see actually over the course of launch, etc., if it's actually being engaged at all, like if it's actually coming into play, and then maybe going from there.
Well, that's an interesting one, Pucks. Yeah, no, I'll come to you next, Pucks. Let's just ask you a quick question, because if you think about it, if this is multiplayer bots, then the bots are actually getting hosted on the server, and so you might think that actually, if these are server-hosted bots, that the AI might be pretty damn intelligent, because you'd like to think that it's tapping into something along the lines of the Azure servers and stuff, to be able to generate some pretty good AI and stuff. Do you think that's kind of likely to happen, or do you think they're going to be kind of dumbass bots?
Well, the first thing I was going to say, sorry, before I attempted to interrupt, was that it's a slight correction, actually. In case people don't know, Battlefield 5 actually doesn't have crossplay.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
It doesn't at all.
It doesn't between PC and Xbox.
Nope.
Oh, I thought it did.
Yeah, I didn't think it did, but I was like,
oh, okay.
yeah, I was like, well, dang, I need to should check.
I did attempt to play with some work colleagues because they play on PC, and I've mainly played on Xbox with Battlefield 5 through Game Pass, and I had to look it up because I wasn't connecting to them, and then that was the reason why, because it's not supported, believe it or not. So just in case it affects answers, I thought I'd just throw that out there. But
okay, just on that point there, because it would be, you'd like to think that, if they're having to fill bots with servers, that one of the easier solutions to this would be to actually have some bloody, a cross-platform stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's a much better way of filling up the servers than bots, surely.
Yeah, you'd think so. But in terms of the question of do bots being hosted through the server affect anything, I think if anything, the only things it will affect is how well the server is tuned for latency against players. Because with an AI, I suppose just for full clarification, when you go to shoot someone, you on your client machine aren't shooting that thing. You're sending a message to the server to say, I've shot at this location, and it's a server that says, yes, you've hit that person, or no, you haven't. And of course, that depends on latency, and things can change during that time. Whereas obviously,
all sorts of stuff.
Exactly, and where you are physically located and all that kind of jazz. So to have a bot virtually hosted directly on the server, and all it's really doing is talking to the server directly, and then relaying those responses back to all the clients so they can mirror what the server's saying has happened. And I think, if anything, that hopefully there is some tuning going on to kind of, even if it's just like timing delay, to say that the server or a bot has to wait. I know we're talking like microseconds here, but it can make the difference for every second or for every cycle, right, of a server that ticks over. So I'd like to think that it won't make much of a difference if it's tuned well, and also if there's any kind of like skill-based matching going on with the bots, like will the bots kind of pull themselves up or down depending on the ranks? But then, as far as I'm concerned, of my Battlefield experience, most of the bigger servers don't necessarily cater for putting you in with, like, if you're like level 1 just starting the game, it won't necessarily throw you in with all rank 1s. It will throw you in with someone who's got the highest rank achievable and a myriad in between. Yeah. So, and if people replay the ranks or whatever else, so the game doesn't necessarily cater for that. But because the maps are usually so large and there's so many different types of styles of play, I don't think it doesn't really need that kind of thing. So I just hope, go on, sorry.
Well, no, one thing I don't want to happen, and this does tend to happen with bots, is that I just don't want to get head sniped from across the map, because Battlefield traditionally doesn't have kill cam or anything, so you can never really see what's just happened. I know kill cams aren't massively accurate, particularly in Call of Duty and stuff. You just tend to see the player carrying on their play, the player that's killed you in Battlefield, and I just don't want to be sniped from halfway across the map by a bot. and you sort of think, well, how the hell did he see me? How did he do that shot? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was just going to really spoil the fun for me, I think.
And I think that's also, that's where a lot of these issues spiral out, isn't it? I've just been looking it up online as well, as Luke was talking earlier, and apparently this whole bot thing is only on their quote-unquote all-out warfare modes, where and which are the ones which are up to 128 players. But they also state on this article, at least, that EA will be backfilling servers with as much as 64 AI soldiers. So, it's highly improbable, but, if each player joins the game, a coin flip happens to determine if you're on Team A or B, and if by the stars have aligned and every 64 member that's joined is on Team A, then it's just a PvE at that point, isn't it? Which is potentially a bizarre experience, but they have a comment here also that says that if you don't want to play with bots, play a different game mode. So it kind of backtracks on their original purpose of the next Battlefield's all about all-out warfare, but if you don't want to play with bots, go to the old modes. I just think the messaging's a bit weird there, but
it does, and like I say, surely the easier solution is cross-platform. K Mega, let's come to you, my friend. Are you a Battlefield player?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Does this affect your decision to buy Battlefield? Do you think?
No, not even not a little bit. It reminds me.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it reminds me more of Titanfall. If you remember, they used to do that as well. So
Titanfall 2.
So I don't. The bot thing is the different level. The only thing that I guess you would. It's like he was bringing up the fact if the bots would be OP and then they could try to take you out. But for the most part, I mean, if it's like what was in Titanfall, there's some that can catch you slipping if you was running away from a human player and then they just got you. But other than that, I mean, it's just probably just good to just see a field of 120, of 60, what is it, 64, 68 out there. Yeah. And then just see a lot of movement and all this type of crazy chaotic stuff going on. I think a lot of people would just look at that as like, they're just there. But I do agree that at the beginning of the game, it definitely shouldn't matter. The game should have plenty of players to where when people want to play that war mode, it will have all the players in there. But I mean, if they want to compensate because they feel that some people might get into that mode and then want to go back to the old traditional modes, then that's fine too, the conquest and all of that. But it doesn't deter me at all. I feel that this is going to be a really good multiplayer game. I know some people are kind of upset about that they took away the single player aspect of it, but but I mean, this gives me more time to be more invested into Halo's campaign.
Yeah,
so that's how I look at it like that. Yeah. So, but I definitely will be playing it. It's not going to deter me whatsoever.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's a fair point. And, I know Battlefield 4 has had a resurgence recently, obviously, given the Battlefield 2042 trailers and stuff. It's got people back into Battlefield 4. And obviously, it's not perhaps, like you say, it's not so much about the here and now, because I'm pretty sure those servers will be pretty damn filled, quite a lot of the time. It's a year or two down the line, because obviously Battlefield isn't an annual title. And if you still want to play Battlefield 2042 in 2 years' time, are the servers going to be full? Probably not. So I guess it's quite nice or handy to have the option of bots where you can actually still get into a game and get to play it, I guess.
Right.
Still, Rain, is it?
Well, I just want to make this last point. I just wanted to say this too. Battlefield is not so much as like when people look at COD. Like, people don't care so much about their KD. It's more team based on Battlefield. And so I think if this was like COD and they decided to put bots in, I think that would be a bigger problem overall, because the KD is so important to so many COD players out there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And to be honest, it's far too important. And I take my KD quite seriously as well. I don't know why it's like that. I think it's your bragging rights, isn't it? It's weird, isn't it? I take great, I wouldn't say, I suppose it is pride over the KD and stuff. But I don't know.
As K Mega said, though, like for me, like it's definitely, I only care about it on COD when I play. Like Battlefield,
exactly.
I don't care at all.
Exactly. And to be honest, I mean, they've kind of hidden it in the last few CODs, haven't they? Your KD, it doesn't really appear at the end, but you can still go and find it on the COD app and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just a yardstick to measure how well you're doing compared to other people, I guess. But and I know, obviously, Call of Duty skill-based matchmaking has been a huge issue for the last couple of COD games and stuff, and I don't think that's getting any better. But anyway, that's a completely different story. Still Rain, bots, Battlefield. Is that a problem for you?
No, it's not a problem for me. I mean, to be completely honest, I've been playing Battlefield since Battlefield 2 on PC, and even they had bots then for your more so single player experience. And I know they're going to do a similar thing in 2042, except with this, they're also incorporating them like we've been talking about, kind of like Titanfall or whatever the case might be, just to fill the rooms up. I mean, again, Gears did something similar to that same thing where you'd have a bot players. If you're playing a quick match or whatever the case might be, you'd have your bot players. And then as soon as real players came in, the bots get kicked out and they take their place. It's just one of those things to make sure that the rooms are full. Knowing Battlefield, I'm pretty sure that they're probably going to have an option to where you can choose the room. You can choose inner rooms where there's not bots, or choose the inner room, just a quick play match or whatever the case might be, and where those bots will be present and people just fill it in as they come in. But bots being there, it can be is always an advantage, because at least you know that there's people, quote unquote, whether it's AI or not, being involved in the gameplay, and it just opens it up for more opportunity. I don't think it takes away from the experience at all. Again, even for your single player, because there's a lot of people who might not like playing Battlefield multiplayer. To quote unquote, but would still like playing Battlefield, but would rather just play against AI components. You know what I mean? So to have them in a 128 player game and they're just playing against 127 other AI opponents, I can see how some people may enjoy that. Would that be something for me? No, not necessarily. I kind of disagree with y'all as far as like the KD. I care about my KD in every game that I play. It's one of those things to where I've definitely have come off of being so, I guess, anal about it, for lack of a better term. Especially with, I don't have as much time to play and dedicate myself to these single individual games, and I've lost so much of my life. And I'm not saying it like in a bad way, to multiplayer games. Especially playing at a competitive level. So it's like now I'm playing different types of games, getting different experiences in. So I don't take it as serious as I used to. But it's just one of those things to where, I mean, you're either going to like it or you're not. I mean, I don't think it takes away from the experience at all. It doesn't take me away from the experience. I've always enjoyed Battlefield and everything that it represents as far as like a realistic shooter. I've always, I mean, again, Battlefield sticks out more for me than Call of Duty does in most cases, just because it's a more of a team-based game. You have so many more options, the more realistic time to kills and everything like that, the more expansive maps, even if they bring it down to close quarters, it just gives people more options, right? And I feel like that's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it does signal to me that they sort of think that they might struggle to fill the servers up. The fact that they're implementing AI.
Well, that was something I wanted to. That was actually something I wanted to touch on. I forgot. I don't think that they think that they're not going to have full servers or whatever the case. Because the other thing that you have to, I don't necessarily know about these recent Call of Duties, but I know in 4 at least, and as far as I can think back at 2, they've always had servers for you to specifically jump in where people set the rules for the server, and those are the matches that people are actually joining. It's not typically the quick play matches or whatever the case might be. People are going to that server browser and looking for matches that have a good amount of people in them, actual people, because I'm pretty sure they're going to give you some kind of disparity between the two to show you, oh, we have this many bot players in here currently, or whatever the case might be, hopefully. But I don't think it's because they have a doubt in their mind, like they're not going to be able to fill the servers. I just feel like they want the constant action to be happening and don't want it to be taken away. Whereas you get in some matches in Battlefield that I've experienced in the past, where it's like you could possibly be waiting 30 minutes to get a full room, and you're missing out on action. You know, you got to traverse these maps and get these vehicles. People are flying around. Now all the air game is completely tied up and people are just making it rain on you. So it's like, it's just one of those things. I feel like it's more for balance purposes more than it is for a fear of not being able to keep the servers full.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And like you say, that makes complete sense, to be honest. And like I say, legacy further down the line, when there are less people playing the servers, perhaps it is nice to know that you can actually jump back to some of these games, even if they are filled with bots. Pucks, where are we on the chat, my friend?
I haven't actually got many comments saved, I'm perfectly honest, but there's been quite a lot of comments. I've seen a few that I like, actually. One from Cerebral Paul, who says, the bots in TF2 gave me something I could kill.
That's
which
very
is a good
honest
point.
of you.
Six Slayer says, yes, Battlefield 2 had bots. You could have your friends log into your SP game, really training, and play against them. My friends and I used that, jumped on that hard for training. What else have I got here? Crispy Rambo says Titanfall bots are great, so I'm kind of excited to see how they play out in Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see their implementation, won't it? Just to see how they've, how they do it. But excellent. Okay, well, let's move on to the final topic if we can, and we're probably not going to spend too long on this one, but it kind of ties in really, particularly around the cross-platform side of things. Gearbox's CEO Randy Pitchford tweeted, it was a little while ago now, that Borderlands 3 is implementing cross-platform between Xbox, PC, Mac, and Stadia. And there was an obvious omission from that list, and that's obviously PlayStation. And obviously it became fairly clear during the Epic versus Apple case that PlayStation, they were after remuneration for what they saw as lost revenue from developers and publishers to enable cross-play on the PlayStation platform. Once games had hit a certain threshold, and I mean at the time, PlayStation were kind of frowned upon for doing that. But I just thought, in context of the Battlefield and the bots and trying to fill servers and crossplay and stuff, I just thought it was interesting. And it just feels to me about time that Sony need to just drop that and get on with it, if you see what I mean, and just get cross-platform, because ultimately, it benefits all gamers, PlayStation gamers, Xbox gamers in general. It doesn't really matter, what platform you play on. We all benefit from that, and I appreciate. Sony have a huge user base at the moment. Nothing's infallible. They can lose that user base if they're not careful. And I know they know that, but it just doesn't seem particularly consumer friendly to me. And perhaps I'll come to you first, Luke, because I know you got a PS5 and stuff. And I just wonder what your take on this whole Sony stance, because they are quite commercially aggressive around this. It does seem to be a financial thing. I mean, I know when it first came about that they were saying that they wanted to protect their user base, and they didn't have control over the servers you were logging in. But Nintendo don't seem to have a problem with it, so I'm a little bit confused as to why PlayStation would. What do you think, Luke? Is this a non-issue, or do you think PlayStation will have to capitulate at some point in the future for the sake of their gamers?
Yeah, no, I think probably this was an edict that started some time ago. And it may have made more sense then, when other platforms were, only themselves in the infancy of, stress testing cross-platform play, seeing how it impacted upon their own player base, seeing, what controls or lack thereof they'd have. But I think today, it's super common, and it is increasingly, frustrating, I think, for a lot of people, that Sony kind of have this old-fashioned approach, this kind of walled garden, at least in terms of cross-play, right? Cross-platform play. Yeah. This walled garden approach, when, it doesn't seem that there's any... I mean, surely there's no need for this anymore, right? Because, as you say, every other platform has accepted this and it, allows it in a game that's on their platform. It's good for the game. It's in terms of player base, it's good for the players, because they can play with, friends on different platforms, which is super cool. That's the thing that many of us would have never thought would have happened Absolutely. Years and years ago. And for games, I think maybe Sony are worried that if you can play it on another platform, and you may choose to go elsewhere. You may think, well, doesn't really matter. I don't really need this platform to play it. I can play it on another platform that I have. But it kind of doesn't work like that in practice, right? You know, you play where your preference is, and you won't really change that on a lot of these multiplayer games. You will, you know, and there are lots of different reasons for that. So they're not really, I wouldn't think, going to lose anybody by enabling it. And if anything, it will be beneficial because it's at this point, it's just a good guy move to do it. And it seems a sensible move. So it is weird. It is one of those policies that is quite weird from them. And I think at some point they will have to change it because it just seems a bit, you know, if anything, it's gonna piss people off, right? If you're a hardcore PlayStation gamer and you play a lot of multiplayer games, and you know, let's for the sake of argument say, well Battlefield 2042 comes out and they do enable crossplay. And you can't play with your friends on PC or Xbox simply by virtue of the fact that you kind of dedicated yourself to, you know, PlayStation as a platform, then that's going to be annoying. That's going to be really annoying. So if anything, I would think it's a negative and will turn people off actually engaging with those games, specifically those games, on that platform. So. And obviously that's not for everyone, right? Because it's not as if you know, whenever you play a multiplayer game that's cross-platform, that you just so happen to have friends that are on different platforms, because you may not do. All your friends may be on the same platform, and so for those people, obviously, it's not going to impact them. But it does have wider ramifications for the player base for the game, and you know, the ability to just go between platforms and keep playing with the people that you're playing with, regardless of where they are. So,
do you buy into the lost revenue, or do you just think that's an angle that they're taking just to make it awkward for developers?
I don't particularly buy it. I think maybe they have some numbers somewhere, or did have some numbers somewhere that said it might not be as beneficial. But I think the thing you have to consider is, okay, you know, how much lost revenue are we talking about? Because sure, you could, in theory, I guess, if you crunch numbers, say that, you know, we're losing revenue by enabling this in this way, but that lost revenue might be minimal, right? It might not be very much at all. So it's not as if it's going to be like reams and reams of money. So I suspect at this point it's probably just it's just PlayStation wanting to keep people as closely tied into their, you know, online servers and their platform as much as possible. Which, you know, is a legitimate thing to want to do, but it's not particularly friendly in this era when everybody else is doing it and when gamers just want to play with other gamers regardless of the platform that they're on. So it's weird, and I would think, or at least I would hope, you know, that they would change that going forward. And you know, they do things that, you know, have been very beneficial for them and very, you know, quote unquote consumer friendly, like the PlayStation Plus, you know, thing, not requiring that subscription to play free to play games and stuff that they've had. So it seems kind of weird that they kind of went on that angle, which obviously clearly that's lost revenue, right? You know, because if you have to charge everyone to play Fortnite, for example, if everyone has to have a PS Plus subscription, surely you've lost revenue by not enabling that. But on the same hand, saying, well, if we enable crossplay in a normal way, well, that's lost revenue, so we're not going to do it. So I don't really get the rationale. As I say, I suspect this is something historic that they're just continuing to press on with, but they need to change it, because why not in this day and age? Surely it makes more sense to do it than not.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And K Mega, let's come to you. I don't know if you game on PlayStation. Don't know if you've got a PS5 or have any.
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
But,
yeah, I have attention, but not right here at the present time. I'll wait for the redesign. But you know, I've owned the PlayStation ever since the first one. So yeah, no.
But they're very rigid sometimes, aren't they? In their approach to things, particularly like this. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me personally. I mean, What's your take on this? Do you think Sony will hold out, or do you think that they will have to, eventually bow to sort of industry pressure, as it were, particularly from game developers and stuff? Because that it's all very well them calculating, the lost revenue they might get through that, but actually, they're going to make some revenue perhaps with people actually being able to play cross-platform on their platform, as it were, and actually buy games on their platform because they can do that, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, and they've bowed down once. They've already given the knee to Fortnite, so there'll be other games for real. Well, I'll say for real, for sure. Pretty much for it's odd because Sony does things and they might be ahead. I mean, just look at what they did with PlayStation Now. They were fully ahead when it came to streaming games on consoles, but because of their mentality, because they wanted the money now and not fully invest into the future, now you look and you see EA Access, which kind of got people's buzz, but then now you look at Game Pass, that's really absolutely just blowing it up in xCloud. So they've missed out on opportunity when they were first ones to do it. And this is another thing where they did some crossplay, I believe, back on the PlayStation 3, and then they just went away from it. And so I understand that they, their thought process is because, they sell the most consoles, they're the more popular console at this moment in time. But that's not going to hold weight the longer that the competition just keeps on giving more and more. Yeah, more and more with Game Pass and just all these other games, and then the $70 price range. Sony is I feel, in my opinion, is being too pig-headed and arrogant to and they're standing their own way, and that's going to bite them. That's going to bite them in the ass.
They did it in the PS3 era, didn't they? And
yes.
Every time one of the platform holders has a good generation, they always come back, like you say, kind of pig-headed and just overly confident and stuff. And it is a fragile business. I know PlayStation is a very secure brand, but it's not unbreakable. And I don't know. I just
ask Nintendo.
Sony. Oh yeah. I mean, exactly, with the Wii U and stuff.
Right, and that's the thing. I mean, Nintendo looked like it couldn't be touched, and then PlayStation came along. So it's one of those things to where you have to check the temperature in the room and realize that gamers, they want more options. The old way of how the console and keeping games exclusively only on a console, things like that, not even putting it on PC, stuff like that, is over. It's done. Nintendo can get away with it because Nintendo don't try to play the console war. They just stay in their own lane. But Sony and Xbox are neck and neck when it comes to trying to attract the same type of gamer. And keeping away certain games, like, see, this with Borderlands, it's not going to hurt them so much. But let's just say, for instance, let's say Guilty Gear Strive. I mean, fantastic game. And let's just say that there's been rumors that's been going on that Sony's trying to acquire Artworks. So let's say that they get that, and then they don't want to do crossplay with the PC, even though they said that they were. Because I mean, right now you can't crossplay with the PC, because I have it on PC. I don't know, Rain, if you have it on PC or if you have it on PlayStation.
I got it on PC.
Yeah. So, and our boy Yobi Drend, he Dragonheart Yobi, he got it on the PlayStation 4, and we tried to crossplay because there was rumors that they were supposed to, and it's not. So what's that going to do? That's going to make people be deterred and go somewhere else. Or, that's not so much going to get people to say, well, I got to get me a PlayStation because, it's only on. Not with a game like that. I understand that, Guilty Gear is a really fantastic looking game, but fighters don't have that type of appeal to where they're huge console sellers. Mm-hmm. And so when you do something like that, then you alienate not only a fighter that needs that type of that type of fan base to stay, to keep it sustainable, because after 6 months, those servers are going to start getting real dry I mean, just go back and try to look at Guilty Gear XR, go to look at Blaze Blue, go look at Kill Kill. These are all fighters, by the way, that's on PlayStation. They're dry. They're absolutely nobody playing on those anymore. And if you got crossplay, what that does for racers and for fighters, that sustained a group of people that will continue to come on there, because there will be fans that you can go across the aisle and talk with and enjoy the game, and y'all can have the service to play and to keep it going. If not, if you just keep this same type of mindset, then you're going to be killing your own brand. And I don't know why Sony would think that way. I mean, that's just too pig-headed, and that's too old school, in my opinion. They need to get with the times.
I completely agree. And to be honest, it's quite nice to see Microsoft and Nintendo to a certain degree pushing them along, because like you say, the cross-platform was quite a big deal. To be honest, let's face it, cross-platform isn't anything new. It's been around for quite a while now, but they just still haven't jumped on the bandwagon. Still, Rain, I don't know if you're a PlayStation gamer at all. Do you play on PlayStation?
No, I only play on PlayStation when they give me a game that I feel is worth that purchase.
Disrespectful.
There's not a game out there that I'm currently interested in getting a PlayStation 4, but as far as like the whole crossplay thing, I feel like it's egregious that PlayStation continuously tries to fight back against letting their consumers, letting their players have the experience that we've had for almost a decade now. I do not get it. Like King Mega was stating, one of the biggest reasons like fighters don't have that traction no more is because it keeps getting blocked off. And it's like the other thing that you always have to consider, PlayStation isn't considered a multiplayer box. That's not where people go. Yes, they have multiplayer options. You always got your free-to-play games or whatever the case might be, but it's not known for that. And that's kind of unfortunate, because it shouldn't be that way. It's
Sony did it themselves.
Yeah, and Sony did it to themselves. It's like you're forcing people to pay you for crossplay, not understanding that you could get more of a player base in and have more people willing to spend money within your ecosystem, because they don't have to go anywhere else. You know what I mean? There's people like to put the stigma on Xbox. Oh, it's the multiplayer box, and it's the shooter box, and it does all these. It's the whatever box. But Xbox and PC also have a way higher retention rate as far as their consumer goes than PlayStation does. It doesn't matter if you sold 200 million consoles, Sony, if only 20% of your people, not even that, are the people that stay within your ecosystem, then it doesn't matter. And you're not giving people a reason to stay by continuously blocking off things like crossplay that does nothing but give more access to your consumer. Again, I mean, it's like we had the stigma back in the day where it was like, with me and my boys, it was like Xbox gamers are better than PlayStation gamers as far as online play goes. Why? Because we pay for our services. Two, the services on the Xbox side are just more refined, more easier to access. Xbox, Microsoft has always understood that the players drive the experience. Whereas on the Sony side, it's like, it's free to play, whatever. You get to it when you get to it, and it just isn't taken as serious. And then they always limit themselves to what they can truly get. And I feel like that's such a disadvantage as we move forward into this this gaming space that we're moving into, as Pong likes to call it, the golden age of gaming, where access is becoming so much more relevant. Being able to have the opportunity to access your almost 3 billion players across the world is something that the gaming industry is really trying to tap into now, and to continuously try to hold yourself away from that, or not, or pretend like that's not an integral part of what you need to be doing is like taking 2 steps forward and taking 10 steps back. It doesn't matter what single player game you release at that point, because after that, nobody's staying within your ecosystem. Especially you can't be known for fighter games, but then have nobody playing your fighting games. it just becomes null and void at that point. You're just making things more niche than what they need to be. And I know they have plans for other shooters coming out and whatever the case might be, and that's cool. But let's be honest, if they're not even going to open it up to PC players, like K-Mega was using that example for Guilty Gear, because he's right on that. If you're not going to even open it up to open up crossplay to PC players, what makes you think that you and the longevity are going to really have a leg to stand on with your consumer?
It is a strange strategy, and like you say, they are resting on their laurels and the success of the PlayStation 4. And it just seems a very peculiar decision to me, and I can't begin to imagine why they're being so stubborn around this. And like you say, they are going to have to backtrack yet again, perhaps, on this because it just doesn't make sense, and even financial sense. It's all very well them saying, they want remuneration for it, but actually, like Luke was saying, it doesn't actually make that kind of sense. I just think that's a mechanism that they're using just to be awkward with this kind of thing, and in inverted commas, to protect their brand. But Pux, I mean, you were PlayStation 4 era. Do you have plans on getting a PlayStation 5? And if you did, where would your where would your cross-platform games be played?
Oh God, I'm kind of similar with Steel Rain, really. That for me to get a PS5, there's to be enough content there for me to actually want to jump into. As of right now, the only game I'm really interested in playing is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. But as I think most people would agree, it doesn't make much financial sense to fork out, £500, dollars, whatever, just for
570 if you're getting the game as well.
Exactly right. It's
Lord
not worth
Jesus, man, you just made that sound real bad.
Yeah,
that wasn't meant to necessarily be a dig at PlayStation, but
that's the reality.
Yeah. That's what that's the point, right? So yeah, sorry, I'm kind of sitting there thinking about it, but until there's a game like more content that comes out, which I only can play on a PS5. I mean, one thing I do like about PlayStation's kind of maybe shifted strategy a bit is that they're bringing out a lot of content to PS4 as well. I know there's a lot of people out there that are questioning that decision that, but the PS4 is not going to be, as good or whatever else. And, well, naturally it's not, right? But then, like, games like Horizon Zero Dawn, sorry. Like, I played that first time on the, the PlayStation Stay at Home initiative on PS4. And it runs at 30 frames a second and whatever else. And it may not be quite 1080p or whatever, but I really enjoyed the experience, and I'm still kind of slowly going through it when I can, when I'm not jumping on many other titles that I'm kind of circulating between. But I quite enjoyed that experience, and not being 60 frames doesn't really bother me. And I know there's like God of War, right? The next God of War is coming out to PS4 as well, which again graphically I expect to hit, but because it's in my expectation, I know I'm still going to. Well, I'd hope, assuming the game is good, I'm going to enjoy the experience. Yeah. So that's kind of my stance on when I'll get a PS5, I guess. But I completely agree with the panel. I don't really know how much more I can add in terms of my thoughts on crossplay, because I have been listening to everyone else. I've been sitting there kind of thinking, is there some sort of behind the scenes financial or business sense why they would not want to do it? But PlayStation, and as I've been thinking about it, I know PlayStation have a very, very strong message that they want to be the platform that has the big AAA single player experiences. And, the keyword there being single player, so, these aren't even cross-platform at all, solely exclusive content on PlayStation, which is a legitimate business case, right? The Nintendo does it with all their IP, and so does Xbox. That's not abnormal. So, and the free-to-play games, or even, just third-party titles, which could easily support it, I just can't understand the remit for it. I can't think of a business case why you wouldn't want to do it, because even if you want a financial incentive to benefit yourself, at the end of the day, I mean, I think as social media has kind of grown and more people are becoming vocal, and rightfully so, on a lot of these issues, I'd like to think that maybe Sony feel like their hands being turned just by the community, because we're like, hey man, I've got loads of friends that have PlayStation, I want an Xbox or whatever else. Why can't we play together, for Christ's sake?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I agree with everyone else. I don't really know what else to add, if I'm perfectly honest. It just kind of boggles me, and I've been sitting there just trying to think of a reason why. is there a thing that kind of makes sense? I just can't pull anything out personally. Like, I just can't see it.
And I just want to make a comment real quick on the whole protect their players mantra, because it's not. I know we're being funny about it now, but there's people that really use that in conversation or whatever the case. And you can't say, they do it so they can protect their players when you're the number one console that gets hacked. Right? Like, come on, man.
Right.
Like, that doesn't make sense. You have the most back end issues out of any other console or any other platform, but you want to protect your players. That's not what it is.
That's cutting deep, man.
I've just seen another comment in the chat as well about how from Indie Gamer says it's because PlayStation have a huge number already on their platform. They don't want their players being exposed to interactions with other plats and potentially being drawn away from PlayStation. Now, I only find that kind of very partially true in my opinion, because honestly,
I'd argue
I think
the opposite's the case.
If you pick a platform, that you're most likely going to stick to it, I think. So,
Right.
like me having friends on PS5 I want to play with, and knowing that there's good experiences on PS5, doesn't mean I don't want to play Xbox. The same way that I still, I know people look at Switch as kind of like this this outlier in the background, but I absolutely love the Switch, and it's got such great content coming out this year as well. And if anything, that's going to draw me away from Xbox. So it's like, where do you draw the line? There's going to be experiences everywhere.
But we've tackled it from a very specific point. We're talking about it perhaps more from a sale of console perspective. But I've got both. I've got a Series X and a PlayStation 5. But Battlefield 5, if that was, or even Borderlands 3. I mean, let's use that as the live example. I would pick that up on the Series X because I know it's got a bigger user base. So that means Sony haven't necessarily missed out on the sale of the console, but they're certainly going to miss out on the sale of the game and stuff. And it's just, this is what I mean. This is why I don't understand why this lost revenue thing. I just don't think it's an actual thing. It just seems to be a mechanism.
It's not. It's just Sony. This is what Sony did. Sony and the gaming media, they felt that single player games was in jeopardy because of what EA said and what Phil Spencer said, and so they went. And then of course there was Mark Cerny and Amy Hennig. They had an interview a couple of years back, and they were talking about the longevity of single player games and how so many gamers aren't completing these single player games, and so they have to figure another way of trying to entice these gamers to still stay on these games. So all last year, if you remember, like just look at reviews of single player games against multiplayer games. They always had the single player games higher because they wanted to make people understand single player games were important. That's what Sony's mantra was. That's what they stood by, and that's why. That's what they they fell on the sword now, because now everything is being reversed, because now people are starting to ask, even within the Sony community, is saying like, where's the multiplayer games? I mean, I love my single player games, but where are some of the multiplayer games? Where's SOCOM? Where's this? Where's that? And now I guarantee you, Sony is going to still play this role until they get their multiplayer lineup, and then they're going to start changing it up and then relax and say, we heard you guys, we had this, but they don't want to say anything right now, because if you say, well, yeah, multiplayer games are important, then what's that do? That makes people look at the competition, because PC and Xbox is doing it 10 times better than what Sony is doing it over there.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
So,
wow. Well, this lit the chat up. Wow, I wasn't kind of expecting this one to take off like it did. I'm really grateful it did. I think we're going to have to wrap the show up there, gentlemen. My God, what a fantastic show. I've enjoyed every second of this one. I love having guests on the show. You always bring a fresh perspective, and I love the energy you guys bring. So thank you very much. Chat,
no problem.
You've been fantastic as well. We always get some great chat. I'm very proud of our Green Pass gaming community that we've managed to build, and we've got some fantastic people in the chat. And they always get involved, and I just love it to bits. It's fantastic. So let's just do a quick round of outros then, shall we? I will start with the chat. I know I've just thanked you, but again, guys, thank you for being here. If you want to help the channel grow, if you can just help like, share, subscribe, help us get the word out on the socials, we'd be really grateful. That goes a long way. But yeah, thank you for being here, everyone. Puxley, Luke, guys, part of the GPG crew, 3/4 of the GPG crew. Guys, thanks for being here. Luke, how was it back after a week off?
It's nice. It's nice to be back amongst games, really, which I have sorely missed for a week. So I think I'm going to go and I've still got Ratchet and Clank to finish, so I'm going to go and play that. And I'm actually going to go and try the Sea of Thieves expansion as well to see what that's.
I've not tried that yet.
Like. Yeah. So yeah, and it's been great as always. Great chat, awesome panel, great topics. So yeah, very happy to be back amongst it.
Fantastic. Puxley, thank you for being here, my friend, looking after the chat and the comments. It's been pretty lively tonight.
Oh, no problem at all. I've really enjoyed this show, and I love having Still Ray on the show. You've been on the show a number of times now, and just to steal your own words, I love having you on as part of the GPG Kingdom, as you say. You definitely you bring the energy, and I really love it. And I also mirror that to K Mega as well. Like, you've both been absolutely fantastic, and I love the energy, I love the comments, and I just love your interactions as well. It's just been such good fun. I've really enjoyed tonight's show. And
I couldn't agree more. No, absolutely. Yeah. And let's go to you first, Steel Rain, because this is probably, I don't know, third time you've been on the show. Might be
yeah.
Third time. And since you've got your own podcast and stuff with Pong Soul, guys, tell us. I can't believe there's anyone listening to this that doesn't know about your podcast with Pong Soul already. But just in case, fill us in. Where can we find you? What's your channel? Where can we find you on the socials?
Look, like I said earlier in the beginning, I just want to thank you again and the crew for allowing the Reign to be welcomed back into the GPG Kingdom. I thoroughly enjoy everything that you guys bring, the perspective that you all bring, especially being across the water, man. I mean, it's like it's always interesting to hear different people's perspectives. I feel like that just goes so misunderstood sometimes by a lot of people. So a lot of people like to close themselves off and everything, but it's about opening it up, right? We can have a conversation, agree to disagree on some points, but overall, this is gaming. This is our hobby. This is what we should be enjoying. With that being said, I still reign. The T is a 7. You can find me anywhere that has a search bar. If it's Xbox, if it's PlayStation, if it's Twitter, if it's Facebook, type it in. You'll probably find me. Send me a DM message, whatever the case, and we could talk, man. With that being said, Friday nights, you can catch me right on GRG, where gamers recognize game, with my guy K Mega from the 405, as he likes to say, where we just keep it live, raw, and uncut. And then going into Saturday mornings, me and my brother from another, Pong Soul, we got Living Split Screen, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time, where we're a non-console-centric platform. We talk about everything that's going on within the gaming space. We like to keep it live, raw, and uncut, but we also like to keep it authentic, organic, and just give you that energy that you may need to get into your weekend. With that being said, look, again, I just want to thank everyone within the GPG Kingdom. The chat, y'all have been amazing. Y'all have been great. Puxley, Luke, and K Mega, just to see you here with me also. It's been an excellent time. The Halo talk, again, every time I talk about Halo, man, it just gives me butterflies for that I haven't had since that Halo 4 campaign. But with that being said, much love to everybody here, and y'all have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much, my friend. That's awesome. And to be honest, K Mega, I didn't think we were going to find anyone that could match Steel Rain's energy, but we did. And here you are, my friend. First time on the show. It won't be the last, I hope. Thank you so much for being here. Like I say, bit of a mix-up last week, but we got all that sorted, and I had such a great time, and I was really chuffed with the Halo topic as well. I loved that. Thank you so much, my friend. Where can we find you? GRG, explain a little bit more. Tell us about your socials.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at KMega4, but the GRG podcast comes on every Friday night, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, it's 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's 2 a.m. Yeah, that's for the night owls out there, GMT time. So, but you always can come and check it out on my channel, KMega405. On YouTube. I also stream, which is the same name, K Mega 405. You can catch me on Twitch. We tonight here later on, we show our love to fighters. So I call it Fight Night Sundays. So come and check us out. I guess I'll catch you guys early in the morning because I started like 10 p.m. Central, but I usually play until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So So yeah, I catch a lot of the overseas people watching and enjoy some of the fighters that we were playing. So come and check us out there. And then of course, my man Still Rain, he brings that energy. Fantastic dude, man. I really do appreciate him. Ever since that I've asked him to be a part of the GRG family, man, it's been a blast to see him come in. He keeps my energy up because of his energy. So it's a great thing, man. So yeah, thank you guys so much, man. And definitely, man, anytime that you guys need another guest, man, I'd be happy to, man. It was fantastic, man. You got a great show.
Invites in the post, my friend. Just we'll get it on. We'll get it sorted. Fantastic.
No doubt.
Right, thank you very much, everyone. Really enjoyed this show. Anyone listening, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow the channel if you can. It goes a long way. It means a lot to us. And thank you very much. We will be back next week, as always. Enjoy your week of gaming, everyone. Get some good gaming time in there. Game safely. Stay safe, everyone. And we will see you on the next one.